apostate, apostle. It's kind of like a palindrome. This is a video response to Qualia Soup's video, A Lack of Belief in Gods. In this video, Qualia makes the position that atheism is the default position and that atheism is best defined as a lack of belief in gods. We begin with a courtroom drama, and I'd like to look at this because I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of the word belief. Belief has a much less emotionally charged synonym. The synonym is opinion. All it means to hold a belief is to state that you've formed an opinion about whatever it is you hold a belief about. We form opinions constantly. We use our opinions to help us judge our new opinions about whatever new data we have been presented with. To use your example of the courtroom, some of these observers have formed an opinion about the guilt or innocence from the moment they caught eyes of the defendant. Some of these observers have formed their opinion only after hearing the evidence of both sides, and some of these observers have been unable to form any opinion whatsoever. These final group of observers have not rejected the person's guilt. They have not accepted the person's guilt. They are of no opinion whatsoever. They're indecisive about the guilt. If we were to ask them, "Do you believe the accused is guilty?" they will respond, "I don't know," or some variant of "I don't know." If we were to ask them the inverse question, "Do you think the accused is innocent?" we're going to get the same response, "I don't know." We may get a plethora of reasons for both sides, showing that they're indecisive, or we may get someone who simply could not form an opinion and doesn't know why they couldn't. What's not a likely response from our indecisive jurists is for them to ask us what definition of guilt we are using. They're not going to say, "Are you talking about someone who is a little guilty, or guilty by circumstance, or guilty by association, or any number of other possible types of guilt?" It's understood that we are speaking of any type of guilt until we define specifically which type of guilt we are referring to, and in the case of someone who is indecisive about the presence of guilt, they are indecisive about all possible permutations of guilt. In this sense, the default of any belief or opinion is ignorance of said belief or opinion until such time as the possibility of whatever is contemplated. We can say that the default position is a lack of opinion through sheer ignorance of something to have an opinion about. However, to equate this lack of opinion with a belief in either direction, be it likely or unlikely, is to make equivalent two opposed positions. I cannot both have no opinion about the existence of rational young earth creationists and believe that there is no such thing as a rational young earth creationist. This is because the belief that there are no rational young earth creationists is an opinion about them. In the same sense, I cannot doubt the existence of anything and simultaneously claim that I lack an opinion on that topic. In looking back at the courtroom drama, your visual image here is that a lack of belief in guilt and a belief in innocence can be synonymous, and in the sense of the U.S. court system, and I believe that of Britain as well, we do hold that if we cannot prove someone sufficiently guilty, they are innocent. This is done because we have an aversion to placing innocent persons in punishment for crimes they may not have committed. You would find the inverse in a French court, where you are, as I understand it, guilty until proven innocent. The courtroom makes a poor comparison to say that two things which are not synonymous are the same. I'd like to address your statement at 2:30 in the video. You are correct that this is an inaccurate description of atheism. However, to claim that the proper definition of atheism is a lack of belief is just playing with the language. Atheism is a word in the English language, and just like the suffix ist, which applies to the opinions of a person, atheism has an accepted definition. In the major dictionaries, being Oxford, Webster's, and Random House, only includes the capital G God as one of several pieces which ultimately defines atheism as the belief that there are no deified personas, that there are no gods of any kind. Now, at this point I need to apologize because prior to seeing your video I had not realized that ist applied only to personal opinions, and I have called chairs atheist. For that I'm in error. But I'm in the same error that you're making when you claim that the definition of atheist only applies to the capital G God, or that atheism is a definition of a lack of belief. If you're going to change the accepted definition of the word, the burden of proof falls to you to prove why that should be the accepted definition. To get into the original Greek, atheist comes from the athos, or godless, followed by ist, or person. I'd like to look now at the underlying concepts of these two ideas, one being no opinion, the other being opinion that something is false. Specifically, that atheism is properly the opinion that something is false. I want to look again at your quote from Mr. Sumner. Men educated in the critical habit of thought are slow to believe. They can hold things as possible or probable in all degrees without certainty and without pain. To hold no belief, you must hold no opinion. Belief and opinion are synonyms. From the position of no opinion, you are equally opposed to the opinions of any sort on the topic. You cannot endorse or deny in any direction, either for or against. Endorsement, and consequently rejection, require opinion. If you hold something as probable, you have formed an opinion that said thing is likely true. If you hold something as improbable, you're saying it is likely untrue, and this is also an opinion. In doing this without certainty, you admit that your opinion may or may not be correct, and you remain open to the possibility that you are in error. Science is exceptionally good at this, although old scientists are demonstrably not. Now let's look at this to your concept at 6:30 when you're talking about the example of English-speaking planets. This plays into your statement at 6:38, where, and I'm hoping I quote you correctly here, we would have to believe in everything whose existence we reject. That is a false statement. What is required to reject something is an opinion about it. So a true statement would be, we have to have a belief about everything we choose to reject. You're correct that you do not need to believe in the Christian God to believe that the Christian God does not exist. You only need to have a belief about the Christian God in that it does not exist. Specifically your belief that you cannot both be perfect and in need of worship. I find it absolutely mind-boggling that anyone would choose to represent their opinions as lack of opinions. Atheism has a long and proud history of critical thinking in the face of manipulative extremism. To state that you've reviewed the available evidence, weighed the probability, and decided that the concept of a god or gods is needless superstition and has no place in your life or worldview until or unless said entity can be demonstrated is more likely than not indicative of critical thinking and rationalism. To claim that holding no opinion is somehow synonymous with a reasoned belief in anything is not a rational point of view. Atheism deserves better than a defense based on manipulation of grammar and refusal to take a stand. The burden of proof in anything lies with anyone trying to convince anyone of anything. Attempts to obscure atheism as some sort of default position are nothing more than attempts to dodge that burden.